So our program is called Ospwakan Meskanaw. It's a government-funded coalition, which our purpose is, I believe, is to try and do dispel myths about addictions in Aboriginal peoples, and looking to educate the non-indigenous population about how important our culture is to us as a people. With our program, what we hope to do is to dispel myths about the drunken Indian, I guess, is sort of more popular one that people sort of believe, because you get out on downtown in any major city or any city, and you see a lot of the homeless people downtown, and the vast majority of them are Indigenous. So a lot of people, non-Indigenous people, tend to have the idea that Indians are drunks and they can't handle their booze and they end up homeless and that sort of thing, where they don't see the majority of the Indigenous population that are out in the workforce. They're in the offices, they're working in hospitals, they're on construction sites, they're out there in the workforce being very positive contributors to society. I wouldn't call it a program of excellence. I think it's just something that's more of a necessity and a need, and there's a really a big niche for it up here in this area because of the vast stereotypes that are readily out there, and we need to break them down in order to move forward. Success is not measured in it's not quantitative, it's more qualitative. It's the people that come and attend our ceremonies or our events are leaving there with a more instilled pride of the Indigenous people, of who we are, and they're more understanding and have gained a greater knowledge of the pride that we have as a people, and who we are, and our culture, and our history, and I believe that we're bonding in that fashion. We're moving forward in society in that way, in a good way. We've done tons of surveys which have been beyond my expectations, the results, and a lot of videos and pictures that have been taken at a lot of our events, and testimonials have been just amazing about the people who have attended these things. We've had people that have come in and experience in urban settings. Culture and ceremony in particular are not always accessible to the Aboriginal people, Indigenous people population, and so when you get these, I had this one young lady who had been struggling with addiction for a long time. She grew up in a rural setting, and she'd never had access to the culture or to even ceremony, and she attended one of our ceremonies for the very first time, and upon trying to change her life, she found that she was at home more than she had ever been in her life. She felt comfortable in her own skin. She felt rejuvenated and inspired to seek out more of what her culture is. And to this day, she remains clean and sober and on that red road. It's a beautiful thing. I think just bringing access to the city and to the population in the city. A lot of people don't always have vehicles to be able to drive out to the reserve to go attend powwow or round dance or sweat lodge, and those things aren't very common in the cities. They haven't been there. They're gaining more frequency these days, but I think bringing that awareness and just access to it is huge for the city. Indigenous education is both twofold in my opinion. I believe that in order to be happier in our own lives within our culture, we have to walk among two roads, which is very tough. We have to walk both in the modern society, yet still keep attached to our cultural roots, in order to be happy with and comfortable with who we are, and to be very positive in our lives, and content in where we are going. So the education and the piece of paper that's required from formal education of modern society, yet also having the connection and growth in walking that red road is very important to maintaining personal health and and happiness, I believe, as Indigenous people. I would just love to see more people attend, as watch these things grow and have more contribution. And I believe that there's going to come a point where some of these cycles are going to be broken. These young children that are starting to come in and they're growing up, and they're going to be have access to lodges and to be able to come and attend and feel comfortable sitting in a circle when that pipe is lit, and knowing their role, and eventually becoming helpers, and then growing up perhaps they'll pick up that drum or be serving as firekeeper or in other roles. I believe that just because we live in a city, we don't live on the reserve, it doesn't make us less of an Indigenous person. I believe that we could still have access to that. I would love to see these old cycles being broken, and these young people being able to live a life of culture, from a very young age into adulthood. I believe that it starts with just creating partnerships with with leadership, city council and mayor, and also MLAs and MPs, as to garner more attention to them and get them more involved and aware of in their role, even though it doesn't sit the same as the traditional Indigenous leadership, but they do have a lot of influence and a lot of understanding, and they can help move policies and procedures forward that would be more open to linking not only the Indigenous people but the non-Indigenous population with access to our culture in rural settings. I'm not a very old man by any means, but I'm very fortunate to have lived a good life and to live in a good way. One thing that I can really tell these people that are trying to find access, trying to find their culture, trying to find their identity, it's a Cree word. It's akimemo, which means keep trying, persevere. You may find many obstacles on your road, but just keep trying, and there's that teacher is going to come to you one day, and it'll change your life. Hey, hey.